Hey guys, welcome to Unlocking Potential. Today I want to talk about relationships. One of the greatest challenges that we will face in our life is going to be our relationships. Whether you are single, whether you are married, whether you have a girlfriend, relationships are always going to challenge you. And not only are they going to challenge you, they're one of the hardest things to figure out. They are not like other problems. They're not like career problems. They're not like money problems. They're not like even family problems. Family problems are closer, but when you get into an intimate relationship with another person, it really brings up every little piece of you, every vulnerable little piece of you, every fear, every doubt. So let's just start from the beginning about relationships. Before you even can get into a successful relationship, you first have to work on your self worth, your value, your self esteem. And I'll tell you how to do that in a minute. But if you don't, if you don't work on your self esteem and you don't know your own value, two things can happen. This happens to guys a lot, they're only going to be attracted to women who are disempowered, who are needy, who are somewhat vulnerable because they can perceive themselves up here and they'll perceive the woman down here. And this is the safe zone. They can't be hurt. They can't be rejected. They won't feel as much pain if the relationship wasn't to work out. So when you have low self-esteem, you haven't worked on yourself, you haven't worked on your value, you're always going to want to be the overdog. That's one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is you become vulnerable to infatuation. Now you put yourself in the underdog position where you're the needy one. You're the one who is clingy. You're the one who's always chasing, and the other person might be kind of breadcrumbing you along, right? So the very, very first thing before you can get into a successful relationship is to know your own value. And the way to know your own value, your intrinsic value, is to look at your positive traits, to look at what you have within you that is beneficial to the world, beneficial to others, beneficial to the relationship. What is it about you that's good? What is it about you that you have to offer? So you can go through all the different areas. So intellectually, what do you have to offer intellectually? With your skills, what do you have to offer? With your ability to learn, what do you have to offer? With your potential, if you haven't been to college, to school, to university yet, in your career, in your business, in your dreams, what do you have to offer? How is that going to serve your partner? How is that going to benefit them? And let's look at physically. So physically, what do you have to offer? Your looks, the way your voice, hugs, physical intimacy. What do you have to offer? Safety, your strength, your beauty, companionship, just being with the person. They have a partner now to go with them to work events, to dates, to hang out in the evenings, whatever it is. Comfort. What else do you have to offer? Well, one day they are your partner's probably going to want to get married and have children, and they won't be able to do that without a partner, without you. So you can offer stability, you can offer security, you can offer like hundreds and hundreds of things. And until you recognize your own value, you are going to fear rejection. You're going to feel insecure. You're not going to you're not going to be as trusting. But as soon as you know your own value, now that suddenly gives you the confidence to approach, to talk to women, to go on dates, to talk to guys. And now, because if they reject you, they they are just not seeing your value. So when they don't see your value, you're like, that's okay. I see my value. I see my value. And when you see your value, the rejection doesn't have as much of a sting to it anymore. Now you are able to invite, you're able to present yourself and be like, this is me. This is all I am. This is what I can do. This is my dreams. This is my hopes. And when you're authentic and open, the people who match, who are potential good matches with you, will be attracted to that. And the ones who are not looking for that, who are not a good match, they will reject that. And that's exactly what you want. You actually want to be rejected. You want the mismatches to reject. You never want to change yourself. You never want to be fake and present yourself and project an image of who you not who you are in order to impress someone, in order to make them think a certain way about you. Because even if they did start to like you, now that's not the true you, and you're eventually going to get found out. And then you'll just get rejected in the end anyways. So when you're dating, you basically just be as authentic as you can. Know your worth. Know what you have to offer. Now, once you get into it, once you're in a stable relationship and it's been a couple of years and you know someone and you're connected with them and they are like your best friend and you guys love being together and everything is great. Time goes on. You start to get a little older. Now there might be pressure to get married. And a lot of this, the guys don't pick up on their radar. There's a women need that security before they have kids, before they, want to have children. They want that security and they're most likely going to want to be married. And they know there's a time limit for them to have kids. If you are older than 35, that's considered a geriatric pregnancy. So 35, 30, 28, that's when things are going to start to ramp up. The pressure is going to start coming on. And now it's like, now, especially as a man, it's like, okay, this is a new level of responsibility. Now it's like getting married, maybe buying a house. This is where more of your personal growth has to come in. You really got to know your value now. And you really have to know what you have to offer in your career. And if you're in a career where you're not aligned, where you're not content, it's going to be a whole lot harder because it's going to be a lot harder to succeed if you haven't loved your job, if you haven't found work that you love or learned to love what you do. So now you've got this, you may have a conflict inside about your career and your responsibility and time pressure is moving. It's time to have kids. It's time to take things to the next level. that can create a lot of stress and pressure within the relationship. So, getting your career in line and starting to get comfortable taking on more responsibility, even having your first child is a very huge step. It is scary because that means we have to grow up. We may be thinking of ourselves still as young kids, right? We still have the mentality of a child in some ways, even if you might be 28 years old. And it's like, I don't know if I'm ready to have kids. Okay. I don't know if I'm ready to buy a house. I don't know if I'm ready to move my life to the next level. So that is also scary. And that's also more of you just realizing more about your worth, what you can do, starting to believe in yourself even more to the next level again. Now, after that, I'll just take through the stages of life here. Now you have children. Now you've got babies waking up in the middle of the night. You've got breastfeeding. You got co-sleeping. Basically, you have you and your wife and this wedge that just gets right in between you called a kid. And you start living your life and she starts living her life in parallel. No longer intertwined, no longer spending as much time together, no longer having as much intimacy. And this can go on for years. This can go on for a very long time. And so what needs to be done is the relationship needs to be prioritized. So a common mistake that can happen is couples will prioritize the children over the relationship. And when you do that, the children are in the middle and the parents are floating around, right? And now if the children are the center, if the children are the nucleus, what happens when the children grow up 20 years later? The parents are going to have empty nest syndrome and they're going to separate. So 50% of people get a divorce. And a lot of them happen after the kids leave the house. So the couple, the man and the woman are the nucleus. They're the center. They're the priority. The kids are what are the electrons of this atom that are floating around the nucleus. Without the nucleus, the family doesn't exist. Without the man and woman being bonded together, the atom does not exist. It will break down. It will fall apart. So prioritizing the kids is a common mistake. Now, why is that important though? Why is it important for man and woman, I'm just going with typical relationships here, to be bonded? Why do we even do that? Right? There's a lot of coaches, personal development, spiritual teachers, and psychologists, and they're teaching all kinds of great, wonderful stuff about how to self-regulate, how to deal with anger and stress and all this stuff within your own mind, right? Self-regulation, it's important. Without self-regulation, you'll be flying off the handle, you'll be losing it, you'll be quitting your job, you'll be getting in fights, whatever, right? Self-regulation is very, very important. Okay. But what gets missed is something else. So you can't have a couple, one person over here and one person over here. I'm going to self-regulate, you're going to self-regulate, and we're going to have a happy life together. It just doesn't work that way. You can't have two individuals just monitoring and taking care of their own emotions independent of each other and then having a relationship, because They're not relating and relationshiping with each other. If you're not in a relationship, you're relationshiping with each other. So you're regulating each other. You're co-regulating each other. And when you're co-regulating each other, it means this person is upset. Now this person is going to help this person become more calm, to feel more loved, to feel more relaxed, more safe, more worthy, right? They're going to help regulate the other person, just like you would a child. When your child's upset, you wouldn't just be like, okay, take a deep breath and go to your room and meditate. You hug the child, you tell them you love them, and you tell them everything's going to be okay, right? You listen to the child and you talk about the situation, you hear their fears, and you support them, you nurture them, right? Same thing in a relationship. The partner has to help co-regulate the other person. Now, if one person gets triggered, upset, defensive, angry, and approaches the other, and now the second person gets upset, defensive, angry, now you got to fight, right? Both people are just reacting off each other negatively. Nobody's co-regulating anybody. And this is where the relationship skills come in, right? So learning to regulate yourself and learning to see your partner in the best possible light with the benefit of the doubt, and also seeing yourself with the best possible light, being able to trust yourself and be able to trust your partner. So you've probably heard of the attachment styles, right? If you're anxious attached, it means you're very needy, you're very clingy. That means you don't trust yourself, but you trust the other person. You have a very trusting view of other people or the other person in your relationship. So that's why you need them so much, because you're so untrusting of your own abilities. So you need them. Where are they? I can't deal with this myself, right? And typically, anxious attached become attracted to avoidant attached, where they have a high opinion of themselves. They're very capable. They're very trusting. They know they can get things done, but they have a low trust for others, right? So if they're upset, they don't go to the other person and say, look, I'm upset. I need you to do this. I need help with this. I'm feeling this way. Instead, they just go off on their own. They avoid, and they go, I'm going to deal with this myself because I trust myself. I know how to deal with this alone. And they're just moving further and further away from their relationship because they're becoming so hyper independent that they stop relationshiping with the other person. Now, if you want a healthy attachment type, it's very simple. Train yourself to have trust in yourself, learn your own capabilities, and coaching can help with that. And then also learn to trust, to have faith in the other person, to be vulnerable, to trust that you can express what you need, what you want, that they will help to regulate you, that they will help to calm you down, that they will give you what you need when you ask for it, when you communicate it clearly, which is what avoidants don't tend to do. So now you can practice so that instead of having one person become triggered, go into a stress response, and then that causes the next person to become triggered and go into a stress response, and then you get into this big fight where both people are defensive or reactive, essentially. Learn to see the person when they're triggered, when they're upset. learn to look at them differently. Realize you're not talking to the highest version of them. You're not talking to the most rational version of them. You're talking to the part of them that is hurt, that is vulnerable, that is afraid, that doesn't trust either you or themselves. And they need comfort. They need reassurance. They need love. You can think of it, if it helps, as a metaphor. Just think of it as their inner child. Their inner child, the one that was abandoned, that was criticized, that was hurt sometime when they were young or whatever. That's the part that you're looking at. That's the part that's upset that you're talking to right now. So is that that inner child going to get you triggered, get you defensive? Or is that going to help you be more compassionate, more understanding with them? Even if they're angry, they might be angry, screaming, doing the dishes, making noise, just whatever it is. Realize that that is someone who's hurt, who's afraid, who's scared, and approach them with an energy of compassion. Approach them with love and reassurance. Okay. And this is a skill you can learn to do, and this can change everything. Right. And then when you work with your partner, they can start to learn to do the same. Right. When you're upset, when you need help regulating, co-regulating. Right. So there's a balance between self-regulation and co-regulation. Sometimes people will go too far in the co-regulation. Some people go too far in the self-regulation. So keep it balanced. So there it is. Relationships are hard. Relationships will expose the parts of you that need to grow, the parts of you that don't trust others, the parts of you that don't trust yourself. And it's going to challenge you. They're going to challenge you to take on more responsibility. They're going to challenge you to be your best. And even if the relationship doesn't work out, you will still grow even from that, even from divorce, even from separation. Yes, there will be challenges. Yes, there will be grief. Yes, there will be financial challenges. It'll all happen. There'll be a positive side and a negative side for whatever situation you go through, whether you stay together or you move apart. You're going to grow, you're going to be challenged, and you're going to enjoy the benefits and you're going to enjoy the drawbacks, or you're going to feel the drawbacks. There's going to be pain and pleasure no matter the situation. Okay. So relationships are some of the hardest things to work with, to work through, to deal with. But I hope this information is going to help you. I hope this information is going to guide you. And please ask any questions you might have. You can email me through my website, spencelifecoaching.com. Okay. Talk to you later.